Hello again. It started to rain, so I'll do this presentation in my car. I think you might enjoy it. Some parts of the country don't get too much rain. I looked at the last video I did, and right at the end, I was starting to tell a story, and I didn't finish. The new phone jingled and threw me off. The end of the story is there was a governor of the equivalent of the Federal Reserve in Australia. He wasn't a politician. He actually said, this guy's more powerful than a politician, right? And he actually said, well, yeah, the interest rates are very high, and the housing shortage is pretty bad. Now get this, but this is good, okay? Because people will save money because they can't afford what housing is available or to get a loan. So they're going to have to downsize. So it's good for the people, okay? This sounds like Russians playing with words. It's an absurd argument. Life is good because you don't have to spend money on things that you want. And I raised that because we have to consider the basis of everything that you believe and everything that you use as argument. We were talking about assumptions and that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, after watching the video, that I should just do assumptions for a while, because I think that's the whole game for you and for me. Everybody basically, if they can remove their ego and their mental illness about, not addressing things they don't like, if they can be objective, everybody has logic. Everybody can figure things out. So the problem really is, learn how to. Let's see. The first thing you have to do is find objectivity. Good luck. That's your job. You have to learn how to be moral and remove yourself and your emotions from the events of life. You might call them facts, and look at them as best you can, the way House does. Very clinically. It's hard, but especially hard for some people who are brainwashed. Just earlier I was talking to a nice, he's older than me, a guy who was a Knights of Columbus guy, and he was 40 years on a superintendent of education around the board or something around here, and he agreed with me that the public school system is child abuse. So, and what do you do about it? The kids are learning nonsense. They're not learning what actually built the country. And without the cultural background, we don't have a country anymore. We don't really have one anyway. It's kind of gone, and it's just waiting to be turned into Venezuela. And the trend is to become a rich oligarchy, like Russia. We can ridicule Russia now because they're savages and animals killing people. Big government is exactly what we're going to become unless something changes. So let's go back to assumptions. Doesn't that sound good? I hope you can hear that. I mentioned the word induction, and I should mention the word deduction, and I hope this sound doesn't ruin things. The induction, duco means to lead. Okay, so induction means many things are leading to an opinion. Okay, many things are leading to an opinion. Deduction means you're starting from somewhere and you're going down. Okay, so we do this all the time. We sit around trying to figure out, why isn't the car working? Well, let's see. I turn the ignition, but I get a little noise and a click. Oh, I get this, and you go all through these little symptoms, and then you go, oh well, that's consistent with solenoid out. Okay, everybody does this all the time. Another way of doing things is deduction, and this seems like a really smart way to do things. You start with a major principle, an assumption, premise, and from there you work down toward particular information. The only problem is, if you have a bad first assumption, then everything that follows is a waste of time. Let's see. For example, I could probably name 10, 12, 15 major beliefs that people have and that I used to have, and now I realize they're wrong. Okay? One of them is evolution. It's wrong. And of all places, I found a correct description of it on an article NPR Radio has on the internet. Darwin never used the word evolution. I think it appeared in his 7th edition, but he never used the word. It's natural selection, which makes complete sense. When you have the picture of a little monkey, then there's a bigger monkey, then there's an ape, and then there's this Cro-Magnon, and then there's a whatever, and then there's a human being, and there's a guy with an attaché case, and you see the progression, you think, that is not anything. It's not even induction. It's not deduction. There's nothing there. There's no proof. So you have to understand that you can induce into a guess. You can deduce to find a particular, but the only thing that matters really when you get started is to make sure your first assumption is correct. Or all of your assumptions are at least defensible. It makes sense. Nothing is really correct. The idea of truth is a little overdone. So you want to start with a really serious, useful, let's call it a fact. Like I say, there really aren't no facts. So call them a premise. I don't want to go off into a book of logic here, but the first premise has to be right. You can see it in your own life. If I don't want to go this way. Let's do some other time. So deduction depends upon a good premise. Okay? Here's an example of a syllogism, if I can remember it. Nothing is better than heaven. Half a loaf of bread is better than nothing. Right? Those, you can accept those first two. Even if you don't believe in heaven, you can accept it as a working premise. So nothing's better than heaven, and a half a loaf of bread is better than nothing. Therefore, this could actually, no, it's not a valid conclusion, but it sounds valid. Therefore, a half a loaf of bread is better than heaven. Write that down and try and figure it out. I'm not going to tell you why it's goofy. Okay? So, nothing's better than heaven. Right? Half a loaf of bread is better than nothing. Therefore, a half a loaf of bread is better than heaven. Right? Okay. The problem is in the use of words. And I'm not going to tell you anymore. You got to figure out how are words being used to make that silly argument. Okay? But that was an example of a deduction. We started out with a certain fact, and we deduce a conclusion. The other one is we induce to an assumption. Okay? Right. So those are important things. And we want to look at assumptions. And I don't want to spend too much time, besides it's a nice little storm here. The things, here are some of the things that make no sense to me anymore. What is there's evolution is incorrect, and you can look into the flagellation of a bacteria. There's a proof a scientist did, and the statistician worked on it. Anyway, it's impossible. Okay, and the Precambrian period had no organized life, so therefore the Cambrian explosion of life came from nowhere, and Darwin said if it comes from nowhere, my theory fails. It failed. Right? At least it's like about 150 years now. They haven't found an animal in the Precambrian period. That's fine. So evolution is a big pain in the neck. You can deal with global warming if you want. It makes no sense to me. Okay? Man-made global warming. Where does that come from? They keep telling you it's true. You learn it in these schools, and they tell you it's true. Can anybody prove it? No. Is there a proof? It's doubtful. What else? Let's see. I knew I could come up with a bunch of these. So what else is very popular decisions? Okay, one I was talking to somebody else about today. There's this delusion in America, which is also taught in schools, that in the Constitution there's a separation of church and state. Nope. It's not true. Anybody who says that is probably stupid or a liar. They might be ignorant, could be ignorant, but they could be stupid or a liar. A lot of liars. Okay, they just want to win an argument, so they make something up. There is no separation of church and state in the Constitution. Read it. You might find it an interesting document. Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to Baptist Church in Danbury because they were concerned about what was happening. And he said, no. It's not going to happen. What that amendment means is that the state cannot establish a religion. That's what it means. There's no separation. In fact, the largest cathedral in America at the time of the Declaration of Independence was the Congress Hall. The vast majority of the founding fathers were evangelical clergy. Why? Because they were educated, spoke multiple languages, including Greek, etc., etc., etc. Everybody assumed that the Bible was the correct litany of how to act and be moral. Okay, this is absolutely true. There's a book called Original Intent. Everybody should read Original Intent. All of our laws are based upon biblical precepts of morality and fairness. All right. What happened? One of the great efforts of the subversives was to tear that out of our souls and say, well, no, there's a separation of church and state. So people go around saying that because they don't read, they don't think, and it's not true. So several years ago, it's a while ago now, I was substitute teaching somewhere. I don't even remember where. And there was a bunch of kids, nice kids, fourth grade, little kids, and I had an aide, and she was off doing stuff, and I had 5 students, young kids, and they're sitting around this table, and we're all looking at a book, and they want to improve their reading. That's always the deal, right? So we're improving their reading. And I had this great game. Anybody can steal this game if you want. This is a brilliant game. You read aloud, and they're following you, but every now and then you make a mistake. And then what I said, if you hear a mistake, do this. Like on the table, so they're all going. So what happened was they're completely focused on finding me making mistakes. Perfect. So we're reading about a city story, and I said, well, this particular boy's name is Jesus. Well, we were looking at it, he's probably from the Bronx or something like that. Jesus, okay. And I said, and you know what Jesus means? And, well, we don't know. So I said, well, it happens to be the Spanish pronunciation of Jesus. The kid right across from me got wide-eyed. Don't say that here. You can't say that here. Okay, this is why public schools are child abuse. All right. If it was Muhammad, fine, no problem. If it was about, if you wanted to have a lesbian show, that's okay. But don't say the name Jesus, even though it's the guy's name. So it's mental illness. But anyway, these are all assumptions that we work with every day. That's the separation of church and state. No, never existed. Never existed. In the 50s, I think it was, there was a case, New York, Supreme Court, trial court, and one witness was being qualified. And the witness said, I do not believe in a God. I'm an atheist. The judge, at this point, said, oh, well then, you're incompetent, you can't testify. Let that sink in for a second. You can't testify. because you're an atheist. Why? An atheist can just lie. The governing principle of society was if you're a moral person and you believe in God and a moral code, you doesn't have to be Christian, then if you take an oath, then you're basically saying that you are representing that whatever you say is true to the best of your ability and your soul is on the line. Now, the jury can hear that testimony. This sounds crazy, right? No. Not that many years ago, I was doing a trial in Nassau County. And it was my first trial, so it's a while ago. And it was a felony. And I was talking to the jury. It's my first voir dire, which is trying to pick jurors. And I said, these people are going to take an oath. When they testify, you've seen it like in the movies. So, you know what an oath is? No. Okay. An oath is the calling down of God to witness what you're saying is the truth on the potential loss of your soul. Oh my God. This is actually what it is. I learned that like in my Catholic school education. That's exactly what an oath is. No, objection. So the DA goes up there and they all agree that that voir dire, that jury has to go because they heard something horrible. They heard the definition of the word oath. So you wonder why James Comey, Hillary Clinton, and all these people just lie? I solemnly swear that whatever I say doesn't matter. None of it's true. It's whatever I think is clever at the time. So help me God. Except they don't say so help me God anymore. What am I getting at? Assumptions. You have to understand the language, the words, and your paradigm. Do you assume that people are honest? If you do, you will judge what's being said in a different way than if you are a sociopath and you just lie because you want whatever you want. And this is not an extraordinary example. It's very common. So the easiest people for a con man to work on are honest people. They would never expect some kind of bizarre lie for personal benefit. You don't expect it. You don't expect it. Good people are good people, and they expect other people are good people. So, I don't want to go on and on and on. The whole point is we're going to have to do a lot more on assumptions, right? And I'll point things out to you, and you go look them up. Just say, what you want to disagree with my assumption. Maybe we could figure out some way that you could do that. I don't know, comments. I don't really read things like that. But I don't want to see some, parrot merely saying something because that's what they think the world is. All right? If you want to say evolution does exist, please say so, and then explain why there's no Precambrian life. And explain how the 5-digit flagellum of this, bacteria that was research developed. The scientists who looked at it said any one of those 5 things, any one of them, if they're missing, then it won't work as a whip, as a locomotion. So they all had to be there. And where do they evolve from? How can 5 different interacting parts evolve from something else? And of course, there's no answer to that. However, everything I say is basically my assumption now. And my basic assumption is don't believe anything. So that's pretty easy to defend, right? If you want to defend something, defend it. It makes sense. And you have to do that. You have to read about it. Actually try reading. The internet's pretty good. You've got good stuff there. So that's really critical. So I guess I'll stop it here. And this is really great. Let's take a look at this. Oh, man. I hope you can see that. Oh. Let's see. Pretty cool, huh? So, after I did the last one, I also recorded an improv. I'll put it on this channel. I have another channel I'm working on of improv, piano music. So let's go for now. And because I know how to edit things, I'll just count to 3, and the whole thing will stop. Here we go. Is that better? 1, 2, 3.